It is 11 o'clock, and this is the time in which we're going to start with our daily webinar series. This is the Hispanic Recovery Plan, part of the Hispanic Star campaign that we kicked off to get all the Hispanics in action to try to mitigate the incredible economic implications that COVID-19 will have in our community. These daily webinar series are meant to inform, educate, and entertain us during this time that we're going to be virtually connecting. And for that, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome our second daily webinar star, Edgar Carreon, the founder of the Hispanic Small Business Academy. During these turbulent times, it is incredibly important for small businesses under pressure to take decisions for the future of our businesses. And Edgar Carreon will share today frameworks for decision-making around financial solutions, business adjustments, and survival tactics to inform you how you adjust for your investment and innovation. Edgar will be talking for about 10, 12 minutes, and then we're gonna open it up for you to ask questions to Edgar, share your experiences, share anything that has worked for you in best practices, but also some of the barriers that you're finding. Edgar, thank you so much for being with us. You're an incredible part of We're All Human, of the Hispanic Star campaign. You've been part of what the growth of this initiative and the recovery plan forever from the beginning. So thank you so much. Let's kick it off. Edgar Carreon.
Thank you so much, Claudia. It's a real pleasure. Obviously I'm very thankful to be part of the We're All Human initiative and also the Hispanic Star initiative. I think it's a great thing. I'm one of those lucky, or I don't know what word to say, but I'm one of those Hispanic entrepreneurs, immigrant, that was really blessed to be surrounded by people that are willing to help. And so I really, really love what We're All Human and the Hispanic Star is doing. So thank you so much, first of all. I want to touch on one thing, and that is the example of what the Hispanic Star is doing. And that is the pivot that you guys made. And maybe we can talk a little bit about this together, Claudia. You had scheduled to launch this, the Hispanic Star campaign at the opening of the White Sox game.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And all of a sudden here we have this surprise, you know, it kind of came out of left field, and you had to pivot. And so here you are, quickly went into action and pivoted into the Hispanic recovery. You looked for ways that the Hispanic Star could step in and do its part. You know, was there a way that you could help? And that's a really, really great example of some of the things that we're going to be talking about today that Hispanic small businesses can also do to navigate the challenges that we're facing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to share a screen if that's okay. And Michelle, Michelle is here to guide me with this. Right, Michelle? Let's see.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Okay. So we put together 5 steps that small businesses should be taking during this time. And I'm so happy that Claudia is here with me. Because if you guys have been following her on Instagram for the last 1.5 years or 2 or longer, she has this challenge to us almost every day, and that is self-care every single morning. Claudia, I'd love for you to step in a little bit here, and I'm going to actually ask you a question if that's okay.
Yes, let's have this.
So I had this big challenge about 8 months ago. I was really overwhelmed with all the work that I was doing, and somebody gave me, a good friend of mine gave me some pieces of advice that changed everything that was happening in my head, and that was self-care. And she made this comment, and she said, "Hey, listen, kindness brings peace, but not only that way, for you as well." And so it was about being kind to yourself. And so I wrote down the feedback that I was given, which is drink water in the mornings, work out in the mornings, whether it's 15 minutes. And I'm not a great person at working out, but I do very minimum 15 push-ups every morning. And so it's been really helpful. Read a book, get enough rest, and do good. But Claudia, tell me your experience with your morning workouts, because you're great at it.
And this is great. And look, I mean, what you just said before about we had an entire plan about the Hispanic Star campaign, which was to change the perception of Hispanics. We had these multi-million-dollar donations from the best agencies in the world to create a symbol to unify us all. We had the plan to open with the White Sox Stadium. Well, life happens, life intervenes. There's no White Sox Stadium, there was no opening, coronavirus intervened. And what you do as entrepreneurs, we're social entrepreneurs, is you adjust. You adjust, you take it, and you nimble and innovate quickly. But for all of that, and so that's why we, with your help and with the help of other partners in the alliance, we pivoted we adjusted in order to survive and to be useful and to provide value. And I think that that's what a lot of the lessons that I learned from you, Edgar, and that I would love to share to share with others is how do you identify what is the moment in which you have to stop and say like, okay, I need to adjust, I need to innovate, and I have to change, and you have to do it quickly so that you can, like catch and be first, like first mover. But in that period of anxiety, but also, like in general, it's so important to self-care. It's so important to stay strong. This quarantine that many of us are living today reminds me of my time. One of my first jobs ever was to be a press correspondent in London for Notimex, the Mexican news agency. And literally I had to compete with Reuters. And, like I was one person, Reuters were 200. So I was working day and night. But what happens is when you work from home and when you're like starting a business, is that you start losing sense of what is day and what is night. And that is absolutely, like a detriment of your productivity. I think that for a year, I didn't know whether I was like on my pajamas, probably like 7 days a week, because I didn't have to go out. I was working all day. And and then someone gave me the advice that you're giving today, which is self-care, structure, stay strong, self-care. What I do every day is I work out every single day, because that's the one thing that gives me, like, that's my anchor. Everything else in the world might be crazy and things might go off, but you have to have one anchor. And for me, is to exercise every day. And I am blessed that I am able to do that with my partner. On the weekends, I do that with my children. And so that's pretty much where, like part of the structure. Part of self-care for me, Edgar, and I love to see you with your jacket and all well put off, is that in this time, it's important that you have a structure also in the way that you look, so that even if you're staying home and you're working from virtually, you don't stay in your jammies. I mean, like, you literally have to make an effort and say like, all right, we're beginning the day, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna take a shower, I'm gonna dress up, and then I'm gonna have lunch. And you see, like, you have to have that structure and also put yourself well, even if you don't leave your home.
Yeah, and yes, the reality is that right now, the majority of us, and as we're thinking about small businesses, we are going to have to make, if we haven't already, very important decisions. And it's not fair to you or to the people that depend on you for those decisions to be made when you're not at 100%. And so we are already facing certain challenges of having clarity of mind. And so by not taking care of ourselves, our mental health, our physical health, it makes it more difficult to make the right decisions, which can have a significant impact in our lives, but also in the lives of the people that depend on the employment that we provide for them. So it's incredibly important. And to be honest, when this advice first came to me, I thought it was a little bit silly, because I'm what I consider myself a racehorse. I kind of just put on those blinders, and every single day, since for the last 15 years, I just go to work. And
so self-care is one of, you brought 5 things that you want to suggest to entrepreneurs. So self-care is one. Yes,
self-care is one of them. So as simple as it seems, please heavily consider that and implement that to your daily routine. So as we shift into talking about the challenging decisions that we have to make, it's really important that you bring your team together. incredibly important, that the decisions you're making, you're doing them with your team in mind. And so I wrote some points. Number one is know your team. So find out what their needs are. As an example, I own a couple of cafes. What I did is I met with each one of my team members and I asked them what their personal situation was. I obviously knew a little bit in advance, but some of them were telling, their mom had moved to a different state, and so leaving a single mom to care for a kid, pay for daycare, pay for her rent and things like that. And so as I was making decisions, I was able to make them with their needs in mind. And so it does two things. One, it shows that you care. And two, it gives you an opportunity to keep your high quality, high performing team on board when this is all over, depending on the decision.
On that point, it's also important, you mentioned once to me that you need to know the situation of your teams because you might need to make decisions, and some of the people that you need to mobilize and take decisions and say like, okay, we need to actually either change structures to part-time, full-time. You need to know their situation so that you can also take decisions that are more human.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I'm going to use myself as an example on this. With the cafes, I made the decision to close them temporarily. And it was a very difficult decision, more so because of the people that depend on that job. But me being able to understand that for some of my staff, it was a second job. For others, it was a main job. And their personal situations, financially and otherwise, health, I was able to make those decisions to get creative with them to find ways to keep them active and keep them receiving an income. But also, as I was finding solutions for my business, whether it was in loan assistance or creative as far as changing my strategy to generate income during this time, I was able to find solutions for them as well, not just myself.
And when you say get creative, I would like you to share a little bit of your wisdom and experience on, in some of the instances, you have to innovate and adjust. And so I think that having that diversity of voices and thinking can help you move forward in the decision making that you have.
Yes. So, one of the, I have two companies, but speaking about the cafe, one of the things that we did is I sat with both teams and I said, what would you guys do if this was your business? And it just opened up this amazing catalog of ideas that not only could work right now, but that we are actually working to implement in the future. And what was amazing is that some of my team members took on those ideas themselves. And so we have somebody currently that's developing our own packaged product that will be part of our business going forward, regardless of this COVID-19 scenario or not. Right. And so I think that that's another point that's really important, is that as you make decisions, don't forget about the future. I understand that the majority of small businesses are having to solve short-term problems, payroll, leases, and things of that nature. But make decisions that you can keep as part of your business for the future, because this is a great time, again, to get creative and find solutions, not just for now, but for the longevity of your business.
So that was tip number 2. Tip number 3.
Tip number 3 is to stay engaged. And this was, yesterday, Richard was talking about trust. And, large companies have the ability to do several things. Starbucks, for example, is making sure that their employees have pay for 3 months, regardless of whether the door is open or not. That's a big thing. A lot of small businesses can't do that. The majority of small businesses in the US have revenues of $450,000 or less. And so that puts you in a tough situation. So how can you get creative to keep your staff happy and also your customers? Number one that Richard was sharing was to be honest. Be honest and transparent with your staff. Let them know how and where your business is right now and the decisions that you plan to make, so that they also can be informed and have that information to make decisions for themselves.
And that is counterintuitive, but I think that what you're saying is when you're a small business owner, particularly, it is even more important to have trust, even if it sounds counterintuitive, to be honest, and say like, we're going to have to close the cafes.
Yes.
It is better because at the end of the day, you will come back and you will need actually your team to come back with you.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's about building those relationships. And again, like you said, you want them to be on the team when it's time to go to battle again. And that's incredibly important. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned listening to Richard in some of the presentations and the talks that he's given at the We're All Human events, at the summits, is that trust. And I've looked at it as, how can we build trust in a small business? Because these, again, small businesses can't make the large investments that big corporations can make. So these are some of the basic ways that you can implement right away. The other one is stay engaged. So stay engaged with your audience. And this is a huge one, because a lot of the people that I've spoken to have become discouraged, right? They're wondering why they should even continue to share a lot of their content online on social media. But you have to look at the flip side. People really want to be helpful. They want to be there for you, but it's hard for them to be there for you if they don't know where you are. And so stay engaged, be part of their lives. And I wrote some basic tips, but if you're a restaurant, think about what you have to give. Don't think about what you can take. Think about what you can give, because the same feelings that you might have right now of uncertainty, of confusion, frustration, your customer has as well. And so what are you doing to help alleviate that? And, you know, there are parents now with their kids and their spouses all day. You have to worry about breakfast, lunch, dinner, laundry, your kids' school curriculum, and then all of your work responsibilities. So share at-home recipes. If you're a cleaning company, share cleaning tips, or organization tips. If you're an auto shop, vehicle care while you're home, little things like that you can continue to stay engaged with your customer, and that you can apply across the board. I use those examples because these are industries that small business, Hispanic small business owners dominate. And
so we have we have 2 more tips to go, and a couple of minutes left. And I would like you to also, at the very end, talk to us about the framework that you described. Let's go through the 2 tips, but also the framework about like the 3 different categories of small businesses, because that's incredibly important for all of us to understand where do you fit and how does that framework can help you. But let's finish with the tips.
Yeah, you know, and we'll have this document will be available for download. I know Michelle is going to put it out in an email, but it'll also be available at on our website for people to download. So Hispanic SBA, you'll be able to .org, you'll be able to download this document. But I do want to get to the comment you just made. So as I've been talking to small business owners over the last 3 weeks or so, we've ran into 3 categories. And one of them is tough to swallow, but it's the truth. There's a category of people that need to be asking themselves if they should stay in business, right? A lot of these businesses were not built on the right foundation. They were not executed properly. And so taking, whether it's an additional loan or forcing yourself to be open, is only going to cause strain on you and your business, making it more difficult to stay open in the long term. Getting into debt that is not wise for your business, that's one category. The other category are people that might be in a more comfortable place and have the option to say, do I stay closed or do I stay open? And then there's the other group that says, I have capital, I'm in a good place, where's the opportunity? Where can I take more market share? And those 3 categories are really important to address. And I want to talk about the first one. If you're a business that has been having a hard time, regardless of the economy, this was a very, very big hit for you. And you know, that's okay because it's happened. But now you have to ask yourself, should I and should my business stay open? Why? Because I know within our culture, it's really looked down on to fail, to close the doors to your business. It almost seems like it's a reflection of who you are. The reality is that it's not always that way. If you force this idea of staying open, and it's going to put you in a tougher situation later on, it's not wise for you to be in business. Take this time to step back and regroup everything you've been wanting to do. It's okay if you go and get a job elsewhere while you put your tools together to get back into business. It's a tough thing to accept, but oftentimes it's the best thing to do. And I have personal experience with that. I had a business that I forced for 5 years, but I knew within the first 3 months we should have closed. And I didn't do it. And it cost me the biggest losses that I've had in my business career. And not only financially, but mentally, I took a big hit because I had to recover from thinking that I was not as good as I thought I was. You don't want to be in that situation.
And so what you're saying is, before rushing into accessing one credit or one loan of the small businesses opportunities that have been made available for COVID-19, really ask yourself the hard question: is that credit going to be the solution for a business model that was probably not properly set up?
Exactly.
Is this credit going? Is the coronavirus the issue that I can hold on for the next 3 to 6 months? So can I actually recover in 6 months, or is this going to drag for longer and therefore it's going to just like make it harder? And that's
and you'll be back quicker. You'll be back quicker if you make that tough decision now into doing what you should have been doing in the first place.
Edgar, we promised that we were going to have 20-minute webinars every day. I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
If people on the audience are interested in getting advice from the Hispanic Small Business Academy or for yourself, would you make yourself available? Would you give them an email for people to be able to email you with question-specific advice?
Yes, definitely. I would love to do that. Like I said, we're a nonprofit, and we have plenty of time right now to help as many people as possible. So yes, definitely. There's HispanicSBA.org is a great place to go, and you'll be able to get contact directly to me or our team through that page.
Great. So before we close, we know that you're going to make yourself available. Just like recap or in 1 minute, the last 2 tips that you were going to give, knowing that we're going to be sharing that with everybody. So we were talking about number one was to stay healthy. Number 2, self-care. Number 2 is be together, and together we're strong. Number 3 is engage. And you were going to go for number 4, which is?
I think that this was saved incorrectly. So we have 2 engages, but the other one is activate. So activate means to get informed about the programs that are available for you. What are some of the things that you can do locally? There are cities that are offering 0 interest loans. The SBA has up to $2 million, very low interest, I think under 4%. Amazon Fund in Seattle, Salesforce Fund in San Francisco. Get informed and get in line. And
the Hispanic Recovery Platform is useful to bring all the resources available in one-stop place.
Yes, exactly. So get in line, get first in line. You know, I got this advice yesterday, was if your business is in a good place and you can qualify for some of these loans, especially the 0 interest loans, take them. Because there might be an opportunity for you to expand your business or strengthen your business, and you'll have the capital on hand if that opportunity arises. And then lastly is think of your staff. Your staff is going to need to solve some of these challenges that they're facing as well. So make sure that you're also looking for solutions for your staff so that they can feel and know that you care about them and that you're thinking about them.
Well, then I want to thank you, Edgar Carreon, the founder of the Hispanic Small Business Academy, for sharing the tips for the community, for talking about the 3 different stages of small businesses and entrepreneurs to be thinking about, and to making yourself available. We will actually put this webinar on the recording, and if you don't mind, just like put your email attached to it so that people can access you. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend. Please try to stay healthy, self-care, and stay tuned. Go to the Hispanic Recovery Plan, and let's do this together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claudia.
Bye.